For more information about online piracy and to watch more episodes of The Research Engine, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Research Engine. The 10th most illegally pirated film of all time is Pirates of the Caribbean 3, with over 14 million downloads. Now this is an interesting statistic because the film itself is about pirates, and also because the film was kinda shit. In this episode of The Research Engine, we take a look at online piracy, what's happened to the world because of it, and what could happen to the world without it. Although digital piracy started back in the late 80s with people sharing floppy disks, online piracy didn't become a major issue until 1999 with the birth of Napster. At its peak, 25 million users were able to download from a catalogue of over 80 million songs for free. As you can imagine, record companies and musicians everywhere were furious, and many took a public stand to cut out the cancer known as Napster. In 2001, Napster was shut down, but just like cancer, it would spread and change the world as we knew it. Almost immediately following the shutdown of Napster, peer-to-peer sharing clients such as Kazaa, LimeWire and Morpheus took center stage. But this time, it wasn't just illegal music downloads. Movies, software and TV shows were also now available, and as the world's internet became faster, the amount of illegal downloads were growing. A few years after the turn of the millennium, online piracy shifted from peer-to-peer sharing to BitTorrents. Peer-to-peer is the act of downloading a file directly from another user, whereas BitTorrent downloads part of a file from multiple users, making online piracy faster, larger, and harder to contain. And that brings us to now, 2012. Let's take a look at some numbers. According to the Australian Institute of Criminology, 23% of Australians are estimated to be involved in film piracy alone. 86% of those pirates had seen a film before it had a cinema release, which led to 59% of those pirates not seeing the film in the cinema at all. In 2005, 47 million illegal DVDs were in circulation across Australia, which almost equaled the 52 million legitimate DVDs sold. The Australian motion picture industry, which includes foreign and domestic producers, distributors, theatres, video stores and pay-per-view operators, lost $179 million as a result of piracy. Of those surveyed in Australia, the average pirate is a male aged 16 to 24. So out of the 23% of Australian film pirates, 92% of them understood piracy was a crime, but they either did not understand the consequences, knew what actions were right and were wrong, or did not consider copyright theft to be morally wrong. In the United States, 53% of internet users did not consider illegal music downloading as stealing. A 2011 report by Chinese web company GoGlobe found that $12.5 billion is lost each year due to piracy in the music industry alone. Of all the music on the internet, 95% is illegal, and the average iPod contains roughly $800 worth of pirated music. In a report written by the BSA, the Business Software Alliance, well over half of the world's personal computer users admit they pirate software. That includes 31% who say they do it all of the time, most of the time, or occasionally, plus another 26% who admit they pirate, but only rarely. Fewer than 4 users in 10 say they never acquire software that is not fully licensed. And in another report by AFACT, the Australian Federation Against Copyright Theft, 30% of all revenue lost from film piracy comes from individuals who download a pirated film rather than going to the cinema. 48% watch a pirated film instead of purchasing it on DVD or Blu-ray. Whether you believe these statistics to be morally wrong or right, or you simply don't care, it has unfortunately led us to a dark time in our society. For the last 15 years, consumers have been able to access copyrighted material for free, and music companies, movie and TV studios, and software developers have had enough, which is why the United States is trying to implement SOPA, the Stop Online Piracy Act. This will allow authorities to simply block US users from accessing offshore websites that are blacklisted and even shut down websites hosted within the United States that breach copyright laws. Another US proposed bill, PIPA, is not as harsh as SOPA, but will give the authorities the right to control the user experience. At this current point in time, both bills are in limbo due to lack of support from US Congress and President Barack Obama himself. Unfortunately, what isn't as widely publicized is ACTA, the Anti-Counterfeiting Trade Agreement. ACTA, like SOPA and PIPA, has plans to fight copyright infringement except on a global scale. And the United States has already signed this treaty with no needed consent from Congress or President Obama, as well as 22 countries within the EU, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and more. So basically, all this is having a trickle-down effect, and the final trickle ends at you. Whether you infringe copyright or not, government bodies will be able to access any or all of your personal information and web surfing history from your internet service provider. On the other hand, many countries don't have the kind of privacy as us Australians currently have. In Brazil, 3,942 raids were conducted in 2008. This led to only 195 convictions, most of which were suspended sentences. What you need to understand is, convicting online pirates is actually very expensive in comparison to the value of infringed goods they have sold. Police raids are cheap, they instill fear into others, and they seize illegal products that were intended for future sale. The judicial system, on the other hand, is too expensive, so usually pirates are sent packing with a slap on the wrist.